everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.
Oh my gosh, it's people helping people!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of People Helping People. Yeah, feels good. Gosh, we have such an exciting show for you guys tonight. And as you guys know, we have switched schedules. We are now Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. versus the 8 p.m. And I have found out from multiple people that is conflicting with their football schedule. So we might pivot. We might move and see if we can move it a little bit later so the people that want to enjoy their football games can still enjoy People Helping People. And as you guys know, we had some huge announcements. We raised over $3,800 for for Chapter 2, for kids to go to Camp ASDA, kids with type 1 diabetes to go to a camp where they're surrounded by other type 1 diabetics and they can feel support, community, and have some understanding in their life. Being a type 1 diabetic myself, it was something that was near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate everybody that either donated artwork or they were in the auction or they were donating. And it was just such an exciting event. And we all came together as a collective and we put our resources together for something that is greater than us. So this one's for you guys. Thank you. Truly amazing. I never knew that starting something like this would blossom into the advocacy that we are embarking on here at People Helping People. And as you guys know, this year is a live show. Join the chat, leave us some comments, leave us some feedback, and we would love to see who's out there, who's listening, and shout you guys out during the show here. So let's start off with that. Your boy B's in the house, legend. Not only has he been on the show, but he donated artwork to our auction and helped us to raise money for these kids to go to camp. It was overwhelmingly amazing. So your boy B, welcome in. He says, happy Friday, brother. Happy Friday, my guy. Thank you for being here. He also says, such an awesome experience to be a part of. Come on. It was heartwarming, man. I had no idea that we were going to be able to do what we did in the short period of time. It was just over 2 weeks that auction was live and over $3,800. And I mean, just really incredible. So, you guys, I don't want to waste too much time. We have a guest waiting for you guys today, and I am so excited to dive into this conversation. But before we do, this episode is sponsored by Mike Silkowski, T-Town Boxing, and Driven to Give. And we will touch more on that later, but we've got one other person that just jumped in and said hello, David Castillo, my guy. A fellow type 1 diabetic, my brother, type 1, Diet Buddies for life, Diet Brothers forever. Good to see you, man. He says, you're doing great and amazing things, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that's been here supporting us along this journey, along the way. And this is just the beginning. So my ADD brain is getting the best of me. Let's go ahead and talk about our guest tonight. I'm so excited to bring her on. As I said, we advocate for people to be open about their experiences in life and give people the strength to feel comfortable within their own skin. And me being a type 1 diabetic, I speak openly about that so often on this channel because I want people to know that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. I've had hypoglycemic attacks on this show. Also suffering from Crohn's disease. It's like I gravitate towards people that do the same because everybody has a voice and everybody deserves to be heard. And this individual, she is not only an advocate for type 1 diabetes and supporting people in those endeavors. But she wears so many hats. It's incredible. She has written a book. She is an influential public speaker. She has an incredible Instagram called Type 1 Type Fun, which I really enjoy. And she is here advocating for something that is bigger than herself. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to welcome to the stage Madi Cheever. Welcome, Maddy.
Not awesome to be here. Such a privilege.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. And I was just telling the people that, your advocacy for the things that I like to call it a superpower, but some people would say we suffer from is a very important thing. And you really are spearheading this. And so I'm so excited to dive into this conversation with you. But before we get into all that, go ahead and introduce yourself if you could.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hello to everyone watching now or watching later. My name is Madi Cheever. Of course, as you know, I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified health education specialist. And honestly, I'm here to just bring some serious and silly, goofy vibes to T1D. I think we deserve to be treated with individualization. I think we deserve to be treated with kindness, fairness, and to have a collaborative approach. So that is what I have the fortune of getting to do. I have worked with people all over the to help them manage their blood sugar, help to manage their diet, lifestyle, whatever it is that they need. That is what we try to accomplish. It's been such a fortunate experience for me. 14-year-old Maddie would never believe that I'm doing this today. Diabetes was a very upsetting thing for me back then, but thankfully, I think it doesn't have to define you, but it can help to define you if you let it in the best ways.
Absolutely. Well, welcome. I love what you just said. The fact that this does not have to define you, but you can allow it to define you. That is so impactful because one thing that I've talked about at length, ad nauseum, is the fact that type 1 diabetes, it almost killed me for one, but also gave me purpose in life. It gave me purpose in being able to advocate for others to not feel alone. It gave me purpose in doing this and having these conversations with these people that are out there making a difference in the world. And I just want to thank you for that sentiment because I think that that's very important to understand that it can define you in the most beautiful ways and it doesn't have to bring you down.
Absolutely.
I really love that. So I want to dive into your story because you said at 14 years old. So is that when you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
It is, yes. I actually went home from school on Halloween morning. So coming up on my diaversary here, I was officially diagnosed on November 3rd, but went home a few days early. So can I tell you my diagnosis story?
Let's do it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So imagine this, right? I'm walking into class. It's a typical day, Halloween, but still typical day. I'm an awkward middle schooler to begin with, anyways. But I walk into class, I sit down, my teacher looks at me, and immediately she said, "Nope, you're going home." And I said, "You know what? I don't feel that great, anyways." And for context, I'm pretty type A. I was totally like academia focused. I love school. So leaving it was hard, but I felt awful. So it was an easy call that day. So I remember I went to the nurse's office and I got there and she said, "Oh, you don't look good." I was like, "Yep, everyone keeps saying that." So fortunately, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So she did come pick me up and we went and got some sick day foods, Cheever family protocol. We had some crackers and cheese and Gatorade, and you just kind of do that on repeat, maybe some chicken noodle soup or something like that. So I went home on Halloween. I was pretty upset. Couldn't participate, couldn't hand out candy because they thought I was just sick of some sort. But over the prior months, weeks even, I had been losing a lot of weight. I was incredibly thirsty. I vividly remember I couldn't make it through class without needing the restroom. I barely made it home from the bus to my house, which was about 25 minutes. Towards the end there, it was getting really hard. And like I said, I preface with the fact that I'm very academic focused, or, I was when I was in school. And at a certain point, my teachers were like, hey, we can't let you go to class 2 times in a period. You're going to have to just wait. And I remember one day, my science teacher, we had hour and a half classes. So again, I couldn't make it more than an hour. And I told her, I was like, look, I'll leave my phone here. You can come in the stall with me if you need to. I have to pee. She was like,
Yeah.
okay, you just go. I was like, thank you.
Mhm.
So that was interesting. But I had no clue. I had no clue what any of that was. My thirst was insane, and my lips were peeling off because I was so dehydrated. And I felt awful. I was lethargic. I was irritable. I was so hungry. And I was eating all the things and drinking so much water, but nothing was helping. I didn't feel good at all. So fast forward a few days, we had a burnt orange couch in the living room kitchen situation. So I'm sitting there, sitting there, sitting there. Days go by. Finally, it's the morning of November 3rd, and I wake up, feel awful. Tried to take a shower to help because I just felt like a shell of a human. I felt empty, just completely empty. And so I was like, okay, a warm shower, that will help. So I took the warm shower, almost passed out in the shower. I was like, okay, that didn't help. Maybe food. So I went downstairs, had a bowl of Cheerios and some cranberry juice. That'll be important for the blood sugar I got later.
Yeah.
So had all the food, and then my parents were like, okay, she needs to go to the ER. So we went. So we went to a patient first. I walked in, and they said, oh, you don't look good. I'm like, yeah, I know, I know. So they run some tests, and the doctor comes in and is like, hey, we can't find anything wrong. And diabetes Maddie, I think, is also sassy Maddie sometimes. And so I looked at him and I said, try again. Whoops. Sorry to whoever that provider was.
Good
And
for
he said,
you.
what was that?
I said, good for you. You should advocate for yourself in those types of situations.
Absolutely, we should. And I don't think I had found my voice at that point, but the fact that I had one in that little moment, it's only progressed from there, and it's because of diabetes, truly.
Yeah.
But he was a little defensive with my response, rightfully so. But he was like, well, fine, you're gonna have to, do a urine sample, and you're gonna have to give blood. And I was like, fine, I gotta pee anyways. So I go to the restroom, I come back, I give labs. And there's a few minutes where we're hanging out. My mom and I are hanging out. And then he walks back in and he looks at us and says, hey, we found ketones in your urine. Your blood sugar is like 900 something. I don't remember what it was. He said, there's an ambulance out back for you. They're going to take you to the children's hospital. You have type 1 diabetes and you will never again have a perfect record of health.
Oof.
That's all he said. And then he left. So that was insane.
That's
Naturally, I had tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really terrifying.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
14-year-old. What do you mean I don't have perfect health? And I mean, I've had a prescription for my eyes ever since I was little. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm kind of that way anyways. But yeah,
Yes.
got in the
Got it.
ambulance, went to the hospital, and then did the diabetes thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so thank you for sharing that, for one. And I think that it's a very common story of just people feeling very ill, very weak, very tired. I went through a super similar story. I wasn't diagnosed until 28 years old, but I was falling asleep at stoplights, and waking up to people honking at me. And I'm just like you, like I had to use the bathroom so often, unreal. So I think it's good to talk about those types of symptoms, and advocate for people to be aware of if you're urinating consistently, you can't ever satiate your appetite. There's all these things that come into play. And yeah, I mean, it was very similar, right? I ended up driving myself into the hospital and they're like, oh, you're diabetic. And I'm like, huh? They're like, yeah, you're a type 1 diabetic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. They go, well, your blood sugars are telling us different. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk a little bit about what had happened after that. So now you're a type 1 diabetic. Does that run in your family?
I'm the unicorn.
Mm.
No, I'm actually a triplet. There's three of me, and thankfully they don't have diabetes. Yeah, no one in my family history that we know of.
Holy smokes. That is
Yeah.
insane. Well, you being a triplet is crazy too. I feel like we need another podcast. So okay, so you have two siblings. They're the same age as you, and Mama, she was with you at the hospital. Now, how does this change? Now your mom's a doctor. Your family are all worried about things like, and that's what's really incredible is they kind of just say, "Here, take this, figure it out." So tell me about how the transition from hearing you're type 1 diabetic to starting to go home and live your own life. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was quite a transition. I'm convinced that I got really lucky with the age I was diagnosed at because I'm young enough to have the emotional and financial support of my family, but I'm old enough to understand the mathematics and the concepts behind diabetes. So I'm convinced I'm the luckiest age to ever be diagnosed, but I know everyone has their different perspectives. And if we can, I think it's ultimately best that we all believe that we're the luckiest for whatever the circumstance was, that we got to live more of our life without it, or that we had such support in our youth, whatever it may be. So I think the sentiment that sums up my uh, ultimate belief about that initial T1D experience is it's entirely too much and not enough. It's this
Mm,
dichotomy of things that you're like, I need to know more, but also I'm so overwhelmed and confused. And that's really how we felt. I remember my mom was there at the hospital. My dad was on business, but he actually came back in town. He canceled his business, which, by the way, I don't think that's ever happened in my life other than when I was diagnosed.
mm.
Maybe when we were born, it's kind of a significant one. But yeah, other than that, I don't ever think he's stopped a work trick or anything like that. Just because he does a lot of really important work, but he came back for me, and I always remembered feeling so fortunate for that. And my parents really, for the first 2 weeks, I know that sounds like such a short time, but I think it was an essential time for me. My dad would help give me my shots at home. My mom would come to school and hang out at lunch for me. Again, she was a stay at home mom. I got incredibly lucky. She would help me carb count my meals. She would help create the meal. She would help figure out the insulin. She would help me like create a relationship with the nurse. She did so many things for me that I just can't ever repay her for. Like my mom is, if you ever meet her, her name is Julie, or you can call her Superwoman. Either is fine.
Shout out to
But
Julie. We love you. Hold on. Let me give her one of these.
she's so caring and supportive. They both are, and my brothers were too. I remember going back to school was kind of a challenge because we were towards the end of the school year, so I didn't get my work in time. And I actually wrote about this in my book. So I encourage everyone, if anyone wants a free copy, I will give them a free copy. I have a link in my Instagram bio, or if you can find me personally, DM, something like that. If you want a free copy, I will give one to you because I believe diabetes education should be accessible. But there's also a lot of storytelling within the book. And the story that comes to mind so vividly is I was behind on my schoolwork because I had missed about a week of school and grades were due. So I didn't make the list. And usually it's like the straight A students do like a pizza party. And my principal saw me in the hallway and was like, "Hey, are you coming to the pizza party on Friday?" And I start crying. I don't mean to, but that's how it came out. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." I was like, "No, that's okay. I need to learn how to say it. I have type 1 diabetes. I missed school. That's why I didn't make the grades list." And he looked at me without hesitation. And he was like, "You are invited. We want you to come. You are welcome to be there. There will be pizza and soda." And yeah, it was really cool. Dr. Alex Bergman, amazing. But
Shout
I remember pizza and soda. What are the two things I can't eat anymore? Pizza
out.
and soda. And so I kind of am still crying. I'm like, I can't eat those things. He said, "Bring anything that you want to bring. We just want you there." And I said,
Mm.
"Okay." And so I remember just having that little glimmer of hope that it was gonna be okay, and that it was like it didn't have to stop me or put me down or define me. Um, And yeah, so I attribute part of my initial confidence to him. And this is just the emotional side of things. I haven't even talked about the actual management of taking shots or learning how to card count. All of that is incredibly overwhelming and challenging. It's not impossible. It's tough. So are we, but it's tough, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I think
let's absolutely pin that because I think that that is so important. I want to get into that. And
yeah,
thank you for sharing that because I think when people are first diagnosed, again, mine was so late in life, but after hearing all of these people's stories about how they've been diagnosed, whether it be very, very young in life or mid teens, there's a big transitional period where, like you said, it's so overwhelming the amount of information, and everybody's body is so different. So one thing that could work perfectly for one person completely destroys another. Things like stress and outside sources can spike your blood sugar. So there's there's the emotional, the physical, the spiritual side of managing diabetes. And I think that those three things need to come together and really be harmonious for people to allow themselves to find their calm, because sometimes it always feels like a storm. And
yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still so fresh into being a diabetic, and so I I feel so bad for my girlfriend, but she's so great because she like realizes, okay, when we eat this, this is what happens to you. And there's like this really beautiful back and forth of her, like she's got a steel trap for a brain. So she's like, you ate this and it made you feel like that. And I'm like, oh God, thank God you're here. Because of having Crohn's and type 1 diabetes, it's just like it feels unmanageable at times, but also feels like a superpower at others because I do get to dive into everything that goes into my body and be so in tune with that. And it has given me the right and opportunity to do that. And so, yeah, let's talk about management. Let's talk about when you started to really take hold of what diabetes is like for you and how you started to advocate for management for others.
Absolutely. I, okay, so that year that I was diagnosed, I was 14 years old. And then at the time, I was participating in pageants. That'll come in a second. About a year after my diagnosis, they said, hey, we want to try an insulin pump for you. And I was kind of resistant. I was like, all right, fine, I'll try it. So, in the best way, I tried it on a pageant weekend where I have costume changes, dresses, activities, events, and I have no clue what I'm doing on top of trying to figure out a whole system. So I think I'm probably, I don't know, 4 hours into the day, I ripped the insulin pump off. I'm like, I'm never wearing this again. I swear I'll never wear it again. And, I held to that promise for a little while, but it ended up falling through because I realized how advantageous it was for my management. So fast forward another year and some change. Now my family's an active duty military family, so we moved every 2 or 3 years. So we had to move. So we moved high schools, and I remember being so devastated because I loved getting to be at that my first high school. I was in the theater. It was so fun and so creative, which is I think a big part of what healed me. But ultimately, now looking back, I knew it wasn't my career. So I was forced to actually take consideration of what I wanted to do with my life as a junior in high school. And I had this big transition where I was allowed to figure it out. So I joined a health organization, a high school organization. It used to be called HOSA, Health Occupation Students of America. Now it's called something else, but it's still referred to as HOSA sometimes. So look it up if that's something that you're interested in, or if you have a kiddo in high school who's interested in health professions. Um, it's a wonderful organization, and I found a healthy lifestyle competition to compete in. I was like, okay, let me do this. So I decided to get a CGM for the first time in my life. I got a CGM. And I started to basically self-experiment, guinea pig myself, and I tried to figure out how different macronutrients and meal compositions impacted my blood sugar. So I learned a lot about nutrition, I learned a lot about blood sugar, and my A1C changed. I think it was in the mid nines at that point, hanging out there. And then I think I got it down to like the low eights within that 1 year. So almost a 2 point difference just from me trying to understand what was going on with blood sugar. So that was year one. I was nationally recognized for it, and that's what made me realize that I was onto something. Because I didn't think it was important until someone said it was important. Like, oh yeah, maybe this is important. So it took a little bit of external validation, but I got there. And then the next year I competed again, did the insulin pump again, got my A1C into the sevens, finally, and I was like, okay, I'm on to something. So I decided to go to college to study dietetics. So the next year I went to college. I've never looked back. I decided to go into dietetics, and I did. And I learned a lot. And then within that journey, there was a point where I had a provider who was like, stop playing doctor. And I said, you told me to do this. So if you want me to not, then you've got to say it. But I basically, by myself, got my A1C from the mid nines to the mid to low sixes in the course of about 3 years of just trying. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just a girl. I'm still just a girl, right? I'm a professional diabetic, but I'm also just a girl. People, like, if I can do it, you can do it. If you have intention, if you have the perspective, if you have the willingness, it takes some time, but if you make the time, you will find a lot of answers. And so that's a lot about my journey. And that's, I remembered, okay, so that was like 2019, when that doctor was like, stop playing doctor. And I was like, all right, don't tell me that. I've dropped my A1C ridiculously. Like, hello, some credit, please. And then the following year, I made one YouTube video about my Dexcom G6 CGM. And I posted it on YouTube for fun. And I happened to get a lot of views from that. And I happened to monetize my account, and it happened to make me thousands of dollars, which I did not expect at all. But that was another point of that little external validation where I was like, oh, this is important. This is important. This is very important. And I'm just experimenting on myself, but maybe this could help people. So basically, because of that YouTube video and on, Type 1 Type Fun was born. And now I get to help people all day, every day. I do insulin strategy for blood sugar optimization. We talk digestion, nutrition. We get way too nerdy. And if anyone's listening, the final thing I'll wrap up with is whatever your body needs is what it needs. You're not wrong. Okay. So if stress, like you said this earlier, stress spikes a lot of people. I was just talking to one of my one-on-one clients yesterday. Stress drops his blood sugar. He's a pilot, so when he's flying, he has a little bit of added stress, and he will actually go low if he's not paying attention to it. We have a good strategy there. So we need some carbs. And whereas if I were stressed, I'd go to the 200s, right? So neither of us are wrong. It's just about what happens to your body. And if you can learn those trends, then you're going to find the ticket, the key to success.
Come on. So good. So good. Wow. Well, that is really incredible. And I'm so happy to have people like you in the world. And I think that there's something that's a recurring segment on this show as well. And that is just trying things, whatever it may be. Something, like you said, something that you're passionate about, and you just on a whim put something out on YouTube and you realize, holy smokes, like this is a need in the world. There is a void that's being filled with my voice. And then you can run, and I feel the same with this podcast, like giving people a voice and being able to do this. Like I really it was on a whim. Like I want to try it. Let's go. And it just is really beautiful what those things can turn into. And being able to water those seeds over time and finding your own voice within that and finding purpose and service of others. is such a beautiful thing, and it totally changes your outlook on life and the way that you step and hold yourself. And yeah, I want to give you one of these. It's beautiful. But we do have some comments here. Again, sorry if I feel like it's a little, we didn't get a little pre-show meeting or anything. So it feels a little disingenuous when I'm like looking around, and it's a live show. So I'm like reading comments, making sure that our audio levels are good. And I just want to preface that so you know.
No, you're crushing it. This is awesome. I totally get it. Running a podcast myself, there's a lot of things that you have to juggle. So just doing what you can, you're crushing it. You deserve a lot of credit.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Let's see. We got some comments in here for you. It looks like your boy B says, hello, Maddy, with a waving hand.
Hello, hello.
He's one of our, he's one of the community members out there, one of the People Helping People family members. And David Castillo as well, just a legend. We love that guy. He was on the show as well, and he's a fellow Type 1 warrior. He says we are Type 1 warriors. And absolutely. And he shared his incredible story about himself being diagnosed, and then his 2-year-old daughter being diagnosed fairly recently, and just broke it down for us, and it just is so incredible to have those people here supporting people, helping people, and hearing stories like yours. And, we're going to get to how they can get involved in your mission and how people can be a part of everything that you have going. But I'm just so inspired by everybody jumping in here and leaving us comments and being a part of this conversation. So this one's for you guys. Thank you. My buddy Aaron Greer, he's a military vet. He was in here. He says she's just like Alex, but smart. Thanks, Greer. We love you, brother. We've known each other for a long time. We got one of those relationships.
That's how it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So we've touched on quite a bit here, and you talked about your advocacy and finding your lane, finding your purpose, finding your voice. And I want to know how that has blossomed over time, because I feel like you have a lot of avenues in which you're advocating for people to take control of not only their type 1 diabetes, but that is really taking control of their own lives. It's much bigger than just the disease, because it can feel as though this weight, this like you're rucking consistently, just a weighted vest on your back, and you feel it all the time. So to give people the information and knowledge that they need to take some of those plates out, just piece by piece too, it's not everything at once, but starting small. So let's dive into that. Tell me a little bit about how those seeds that you planted, you've started to water, and how they've blossomed.
Yeah. So let's talk about advocacy, and then we'll talk about education too, because I think those are two huge components. Now, in the typical world, or the traditional world of type 1 diabetes, think the clinical setting, think the carb ratios, the correction factor, the carb counting, all that stuff. We all generally, as type 1s, have somewhat of a familiarity surrounding that idea. But I think the thing that gets left a lot of the time is the emotion, the heart of diabetes. And what I mean by that is having the conversations of, hey, how are you doing? I'm not asking about your A1C. I'm not asking about, is your blood sugar good? But like, are you okay in this moment to have this chat? I'm not asking about, oh, are you on some specific carb? No. How are you emotionally? How are you? And when we can have more of that support and that dynamic, then I feel like that can create that social empowerment, that line that then people can start. It's layers, right? Where diabetes is an onion through and through. So we can add something to it. And when we add that social support, that baseline, I think that's where we can then find our voice, find how we can speak for ourselves, find our advocacy. I found my voice, unfortunately, because I had to. I had providers that said, meh, don't, nope, you can't, da, da, da. And I said, no, you're wrong. And I will. I can do this. I have found that I'm a bit strong-headed when it comes to type 1 specifically, right? I will be okay. And I believe everyone can be okay. And I believe you should have a great provider with you on that journey too. So I guess what I'm saying is if you don't feel empowered by, educated by, or supported by your provider, I encourage you to question that just a little bit. I'm not saying uproot your life or anything, but does your insurance happen to cover someone who you really align with, who you really feel supported by, who you really feel encouraged by? If yes, I know what I would pick.
Mm,
And I encourage you to ask yourself what you would pick.
great question.
The advocacy,
Yeah.
the voice.
Yes. Okay. So, how would you advocate for people to find their voice or to find support
Yeah.
with others other than
Yeah.
that one question?
Yes, I actually have a guide on this. So if anyone wants it, it's also free. I like to give out as much free information as I can. So I'll make sure that my website is type1typefun.com, or if you find me on Instagram, it's linked in my bio. And on in my storefront, everything's free there, but it's a guide on how to respond to uncomfortable questions. I know this isn't full advocacy, but I like this guide. I created this guide because have you ever been in a situation where someone's like, "What's on your arm?" And you're like, and then you kind of have this panic moment. Not that you're panicking because you're not like, "Oh no, like someone's, seen my CGM." Maybe that's how you feel, but maybe it's also just like, I don't know what to say. And if you feel like that, there are things to say. I have several approaches. I take 4 approaches and give you different examples that walk you through how you might respond. You don't have to respond that way. But if you want to, you can have the conversation. You can educate. You can kindly shut it down. You can use some humor. Who knows? But when you find the style of communication that you, then I think you can find your voice and maybe your advocacy for yourself or others. I found I'm very education based. I'm also a talker. I love to chat. If we can't figure that out already, right? I'm here, I'm chatting, we're having a vibe. It's a fun time. And so I know that, okay, for me, I really like that education. I do. Unless I'm having a day where I'm really drained, but I'm an extreme extrovert, I'm a talker, and I'm an educator. So it's kind of a perfect storm. If someone asks me, then they're going to have the next 5 to 7 minutes of their life filled with a bunch of information because they opened that door. For
I love it.
me, that's for you, maybe, maybe not. But you got to find what it is that creates that balance for you and then go with it. It can be shutting it down. You could say, "Hey, thank you so much for asking. I'm not really interested in having the conversation, but I hope you have a wonderful day." Some people might be a little like offended by it, but you have done nothing wrong and that's okay. So pick your battles and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's really interesting because I never really put myself in the shoes of any other diabetics in that sense of I've never been ashamed of it. It's kind of always been on the tip of my tongue, because I guess the beauty of that was being in and out of the hospital for 2 years and pulling myself out of the mud, which gave me the confidence of being like, "Yeah, I'm a damn diabetic, and I have come this far, and I fought this hard, and I did not die multiple times over and over and over again," that I never felt ashamed of being a diabetic. It felt like a superpower. And that's really interesting that you bring that up, that people would feel that way. And I hope that these conversations allow people to understand that the triumphs and the day-to-day trials that type 1 diabetes brings into their life is worth celebrating. It's worth being confident in who you are and what you're enduring on a day-to-day basis and being able to have those conversations. Now, I'm not stating that you need to go have these talks with everybody and be the bubbly, outgoing person about it, because as you said, it's totally okay to say, "Yeah, now is not a good time. Thank you for asking. It's just not something I can dive into at the moment." And, I think as human beings, we all go through that moment where we're just not into talking about it, So,
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing that.
Course. Yeah, it's a skill that takes time. It's the onion, right? It's going to take time, it's going to take layers, it's going to take these conversations. I think of My principal asking me where I was going to be. I think about my first job was Panera Bread. So I had our t-shirts were our uniform. And a woman asked me, she said, "What do you mind if I ask what's on your arm?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. I have type 1 diabetes. This is a continuous glucose monitor. Every 5 minutes, it sends blood sugars to my phone. And that's what helps to keep me aware and alive." And she was shocked for a second, right? She was like, "Oh, my mom has diabetes and she's had some low blood sugars that she didn't recognize. So she's ended up in the hospital. Would something like that help her?" And, I'm a 16-year-old kid at this time. I said, "Yeah, I think it would. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a picture of my arm right now. I know this won't be all the information, but take a picture of it so that you can look up the brand or look up the information. It doesn't have to be this one. There's multiple on the market, but look it up, see what your insurance covers. This has changed my life for my awareness. I think it would help your mom." I never saw her again. I hope she's doing well and I hope that her mom was okay. But because of that moment, she asked, and I felt comfortable sharing. You don't have to feel comfortable sharing, but I genuinely believe little moments like that could potentially save lives. And so for me, it's worth the yap.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a game changer for us right now at this day and age to be type 1 diabetics. I started with the T Slim X2 pump and the Dexcom G6 and yeah. Yeah, you know the gist. I mean, total game changer. I'm like, this is doable. It was like the little glimpse of hope. Like, oh my gosh, I can actually take care of myself now, you know? And I also have now it's a brand new pump. It's called the Ionic Bionic Pancreas. Or I'm sorry, not Ionic. It's the iLet Bionic
Yes.
Pancreas. Yes, the Ionic
Yes.
Bionic Pancreas. And
Yes.
it's
They're a wonderful organization company. I actually I get to communicate with them quite a bit. They've got a great product.
yeah, yeah, it is really interesting how it works. Now, I'm still figuring it out. It's been a few months now. But yeah, I mean, for anybody, I feel like everybody should be looking at their glucose levels anyways, so that they don't slip into becoming either type 2 or like me, just jumping straight into the deep end, type 1 out of the gates, you know? I think it's very important. But I think that you are advocating for so many different things and in so many different lanes. So I would like to explore more of that. But before we get into that, type 1, type fun, you said that you have a lot of free knowledge for people to dive in and read and get involved with. What all can they find on your website?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, type1typefun.com, first of all, there's a banner, I think, on every page, and it says, "Do you want a free copy of my book?" I want you to have a free copy of my book. I want you to have it. The first 280 pages are stories, empowerment, break the rules, find the system that works for you. Warning, here's my full honesty. My editor said it was kind of repetitive. I left everything as is. Part of the point was to be repetitive. I say break the rules 50 something times for a reason. 50
Mm.
some break the rules. Not the rules that work. Break the rules that don't work. Right? If it doesn't work for your body, figure out what does. And this book takes you through that journey of find what works for you. That's the first 280 pages. And the last 70 something, 75, 76 pages it's hardcore diabetes education. Like it should probably cost, I mean, if you were working with someone, a coach, it could cost hundreds or thousands, but it is free and I want you to have it because diabetes education should be accessible. And frankly, I wish someone would have done that for me. So I'm doing it for everyone that I can.
Mm.
So the back part of the book, if you need help with your blood sugar or if blood sugar isn't making sense, if nothing else, download it for that. Like if you want to read the stories, that's cool, but grab it for that. And if you don't have type 1, then grab it for a friend. Someone needs it. Someone will benefit. Please, if you can help anyone, do. That's my goal with this. It's on Amazon too. If anyone ever wants to buy it, cool, you're welcome to. I don't want to make any money on this. I want to help as many people as possible, which is why it's free. Now, that's the book. That's one of the big things that you'll find on my website.
I would
Outside of
like to
that, I have
I would like to say if after this conversation, remind me, I would like you to send me all of the information so that I can link everything and we can kind of allude to it on episodes and have anybody that's watching that is either type 1 diabetic or has that in their vicinity, within their circle, family, whatever it is, community, have access to that. So remind me.
Absolutely. Yes, we will absolutely connect on that info. And really, everything is within that site too. So on the storefront, you'll see a free guide on. I really like noodles. I like Asian cuisine. I like ramen. I like pho. I like hot pot. All that good fun stuff. I love it. But I don't think that our blood sugar should have to suffer for that. For us to eat those kinds of things. So there is a ramen guide on my website if you want to figure out some of the kind of the nuances. It's not specifically here's how many carbs and here's how much insulin, but it's more so, okay, well, what about this? Have you considered that? Have we thought here? So it gives you some of those things that we just don't get taught clinically in that traditional education piece of things. Other than that, there's the communication guide. If you want to learn how to respond confidently to the awkward questions that you get, there's that guide. There's a little guide on how to handle diabetes with emotional and mental resilience. I want you to feel good. Diabetes should not stop you. It should not hold you back if you allow it. I'm not trying to should on you, but I really believe that you can do anything. You can live this best, beautiful life. And I think my philosophy with diabetes education is live your life and incorporate good blood sugar management. You want to do this, you want to eat that, you want to go there, heck yeah, and we'll figure out the blood sugar. I don't think it's fair to put us in a diabetes box and then try to fit your life back in. This does not work. So we do this over here. And that's what all of those guides are designed to do. One by one, they will build up. And the craziest guide that I have is I think it's 42 pages on how to handle blood sugar for delayed spikes. Honestly, that one itself is crazy. But here, I've got a copy. This is the book. Okay, here's my book. We're in the podcast studio, so we've got the setup. So here's the book. That guide is also in the book. So I have it. There's a QR code towards the end of the book where if you want the guide, I start to talk about it in here, but I could not possibly add more to this book. So it's a whole other guide itself, and it'll teach you how to handle the delayed spikes. If have you ever had a fun meal or dinner or Thanksgiving, like something like that, a big meal, and then you wake up and you realize that overnight you were high? You probably have an automated pump, so it kind of corrected for you, but you're like, why did I go to 200 at 2 a.m.? If that ever happens to you, that is the answer. And it's complex. It's complex. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to just be able to, oh yeah, okay. But if you want to know the science in and out hardcore, it's there.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, Maddy. So good. Gosh. And I feel like we're just scratching the surface too.
Oh, always with diabetes. Are you kidding me?
Right.
We could talk hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks. It'd never be enough.
Yes, I agree. And you know our mutual friend Amanda Cardenas.
Yes,
She's
tasty.
old tasty face. Yeah. She's so great.
Yes, she
changed.
is. If anyone doesn't know, we get camp names at camps. So I know Amanda Tasty Face, and sometimes I forget her name is Amanda. She's Tasty Face.
Yes. Yes. And you know, she changed the trajectory of this show, of what People Helping People is here to embody and embrace and embark on. And I just have to tip my hat to her and thank her so much for her advocacy. And that all stemmed from one moment when she was 7 and went to Camp ASDA. And so that I was like, light bulb moment, like we have to get kids to go. If that can do that for one person, I'm sure it's done it for multiple.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to ASDA or any other camp, it is this wonderful, beautiful experience. I never got to go to camp as a kid, but I go as an adult now. I go and I work as a dietitian typically, or sometimes med staff. And oh my goodness, if you're on the fence, if there's even 1% of you that thinks about maybe going or sending your child, do it. Do it. What is the worst case scenario? They learn something. They probably have some fun. Then they come home and tell some stories. Okay, cool. We can get past some homesickness. We'll figure out blood sugars. We'll find some foods that we like. There's activities to do, like all the things, the baseline, it's covered. And you're literally in the safest place because we're all T1D. We get it, and we're there to help you. I have actually never felt more safe than when I'm at camp. It's just this thing where I'm like, if anything happens, I don't have to say a word. I know everyone knows, and people will act on it, and I will be okay.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. Gosh. I love hearing that because this next year when camp rolls around, like I had said prior to you coming on, we raised $3,800 in just over 2 weeks for
I
these
think that
kids.
deserves a clap.
All right. All right. I mean, our community came together in such a big way and they followed our journey since the beginning of this show. And it's just been so fulfilling. And I am really excited for when camp rolls around next year to be able to be boots on the ground. And Amanda's like, you have to go volunteer. And I'm like, if they let me volunteer or if they let me go and give a speech or interview some families and hear about the impact and the people that are there, whatever they allow people helping people to do, I will be there because I want to show everybody where I feel like people donate their money and don't really see, like they feel good about it. They like, man, we're helping either feed people or prevent homelessness or, kids with type 1 diabetes, but they never see the outcome. So to be able to show them this is Camp Asda. This is what we're here for. This is the impact that it's making. I think is just so special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Really just connecting, I think, is my favorite thing to say because you're going to learn from people, you're going to grow. So finding some people on social media that you align with that inspire you, that educate you, that encourage you, finding people in your real life, your real world. I know social media is real world, but not, I don't know, it gets confusing. So
It does.
finding the people online, finding the people in person, and then finding those things that you can hold on to, like holding on to camp. I am also the dietitian at one of the other diabetes camps, so I'll be going to that in just about a month. And the fact that I look forward to that every single day, it's tough work. I mean, we're at camp, we're working, but to do that in such a great way to help these kiddos to potentially have this wonderful, beautiful, fantastic life because they're not stopped by diabetes. I mean, it's just the coolest privilege. It really is. It gives me goosebumps to think about. I mean, it changed my life and I'm a professional diabetic. I think it changes everyone's life for the best.
Gosh, I love that. I love that. And we have some great questions rolling through right now for you here, Maddie. Your boy B out there, salute, we see you. He says, question for Maddie, who or what was your support system through the tougher times? Great question, your boy B.
Absolutely. I think I haven't given a fair shout out to one of my brothers yet. Alex is his name. And he is best friends. His nickname was Best Friend growing up because, so back, remember when I was diagnosed, I was 14. And in that year, I was in eighth grade, and in the public school system that I went to, they required you to watch the documentary Super Size Me. If you haven't already heard this about this documentary, this dude eats McDonald's for I think a year, right? I refuse to watch it again, but that's essentially the gist, and they talk a lot about diabetes. Now, I was only a few months into diabetes, so I really didn't understand type 1, type 2. I did not know that. But during the documentary, they say something along the line of, on average, diabetes compared to their counterpart without will lose 17 to 27 years of their life.
Mm.
So naturally, I jump up, burst into tears, run out of the classroom. My brother's in the same class with me at that time. So he was like, hey, I got her. And the teacher was like, okay, cool. And I remember I stood outside of the classroom and I was like, Bubby, I'm gonna die. And he was like, you're not gonna die. We will figure it out. We will learn. We will do whatever we need to do. And from that day, I remember he would try to come with me to my appointments, maybe to get out of school, but also to help, right? And so he would come to my appointments and he would ask the doctor questions, and he always had snacks. And if I was ever in, kind of not doing well, he was the one that stepped up to the plate. He took on the big brother role, even though, we're 2 minutes apart, but he took on that role. And even through college, when I would go out with some friends and they'd be like, hey, what do we do if she's low and this is happening, right? There's a lot of a learning curve that happens in college. So he would help them through that. And he was my rock through so much of it. And I have to give him the most credit. Of course, my parents deserve credit, and of course, everyone in my life, my supporters, my care team, my healthcare providers, everyone deserves credit. But I think I have to give Alex the most credit.
Shout out to Alex. Great question, your boy B. Thank you for tapping in. Lars Ward, my old man, he's out there. Salute, Pops. We see you. He says, thank you for your knowledge and perspective. I'm still learning. And it's a lifelong endeavor, old man. Don't worry. We all are.
Yes, it is. I genuinely think that maybe there's actually some protective benefits of diabetes for the brain, because I'm like, we have to think about stuff and do math all the time. Like, that's got to do something for our brain health.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. So, gosh, there's so many things I want to touch. I feel like we need to have you back because I want to dive more into the nuance and, the things that more so of what you're advocating for and how you go about doing it. I do want to ask too. Oh, your boy B says you should do a live podcast from the ASDA camp next year. That's the plan. Yeah. And like I said, whatever they allow me to do, if they allow me to do that, I would love to have the camp counselors on. If families are comfortable with being on, that are taking their kids to this camp, what it means to them, how the kids feel before and after, I would love to do all of that. So one thing I did want to bring up with you, Maddy, is now the work begins. We've raised this money. We're looking to find the kids that need this help. That is the hardest part. And obviously there's legalities involved in finding families the correct way. So I would like to cross-pollinate that information to you and have you cross-pollinate to whatever network that you have so that we can find a family in need and send a couple of kids a camp because it's $1,650 now per kid to go to camp. It's not cheap. So we can at least send a couple of kids unless they have some kind of donation program where we can, however many kids we can take, let's take them. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think reaching into networks that take care of those kiddos directly, the diagnosing providers, the providers like the endocrinologists in the local area, I think those are some fantastic resources too. And so I already have some ideas in mind of how we can make that happen. So we'll definitely connect on it.
beautiful. I love it. So I have some little insider baseball questions because we're two diabetics sitting here talking, and I don't get this opportunity often. So do you have a go-to line to describe a low blood sugars? When people ask you what it feels like, what is your description?
Good question. Well, so the symptoms can change over time. So when I was diagnosed, like the first 5 or 6 years, I kind of described myself as like a happy drunk. Now, that being said, remember, I was like a 15-year-old describing myself like this, so I had no clue what the reality of that was. But happy drunk, I was kind of like, what's up, guys? Whoa, my brain feels weird. And I would feel a little tingly. Now, though, I can explain it like this. Think about the last time that you went running. Did you ever feel like you weren't getting enough oxygen to your limbs? So it's not actually that you're tired and out of breath, but it's just like there is this lack of energy throughout your entire being. That is how I would describe a low. There's some other symptoms too. Like sometimes you get kind of sweaty or shaky or tingly or whatever it may be, but just this energylessness, new word, is what I would say a low feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. My explanation is so similar. I always say that, when you're laying on the couch too long and you get up and then all of a sudden all the blood rushes and you're just like this kind of stumbly, you're almost on the brink of passing out. I'm like, well, imagine that for however long it takes you to find some sugar, where you're
Yeah.
just completely lost in space and you can't really articulate. And depending on how low the low is, then add in some cold sweats and, hot flashes and not being able to see or
Confusion.
yeah, just total confusion. So thank you for that. Yeah, I like that explanation. That's really good. And so before we go, because time flies. We're already an hour and 4 minutes deep. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you thus far. I would like to know how anybody can get in touch with you because I know you have a few different avenues and how people can get a hold of you. And yeah, so go ahead and let us know how people can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. I'll give you my top ways. Option number one, find me on Instagram, please. I would love to connect. DM me. I love to get to know who you are and what you're going through. But type 1, type fun. There's some periods in between, but you'll find me. My face is there. I'm kind of like this. So type 1, type fun. Oh, we're getting some fun options
Oh,
here. Okay.
that's cool. I don't know how that happened, but that's neat.
I either, but boom. Happy October. We've got the witchy moment. So that is a great way to find me. Find me on Instagram. And there's a link in my bio to my website, type1typefun.com. Go grab yourself a free book. Start reading that information. I hope it benefits you. Yep, it all circles around. Thank you. Oh, that's so helpful. That's such a good thing. Yes. Find that and then grab my book. If you have any questions, let me know. You'll get an email from me with your copy of the book. So if you want to, then you have my email. You can find me there too. Email, Instagram, anything that you can, whatever you're comfortable with or whatever's easiest for you. If you hit me, I'll hit you back.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to leave with the people?
Yes. I think everyone needs to hear different things in different seasons of their life. So just in case no one's told you, I don't care what your diabetes management is, but you're doing incredible. And from there, you can keep doing even better, even more incredible. Your life is going to be so many beautiful, amazing things. You're not just diabetes, but diabetes can be a good part of it if you allow it. So it's up to your mindset, it's up to you. And if you need any help, then you've got people like us along the way.
Oh my gosh. Come on. Come on. Beautiful. Beautiful. Madi Cheever, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to connect, and you are a part of the People Helping People community. So if there's anything that you ever have going on in the future, you want to jump on, talk about it, you are welcome at any time. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much. This has been a blast, and what you're doing is so fantastic. So thank you for all of your hard work. And I know that you're going to benefit so many people. So let's keep on doing it.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Madi Cheever, Type 1, Type Fun. Take care. Wow. I don't know if you guys are as inspired as I am, but holy smokes, what an incredible conversation. And, I would advocate for anybody and everybody to go to type1typefun.com. Find her on Instagram, instagram.com/ I'm going to pull it up. Actually, the live video is running, so it won't let me pull it up. But if you just type in Type 1 Type Fun, you'll find her. Go give her a follow. Go show some love. Let her know that you saw her on People Helping People. And if you have questions, like she said, just introduce yourself. Say hello. She is just one of those people out here doing amazing things in the world, and I can't thank her enough for taking the time to come on to the show. That was an incredible episode 2 of Chapter 3. But before we get going, you guys, tonight's show was sponsored by Mike Silkowski. He's your local partner in getting your message in front of the right people. Mike specializes in helping businesses right here in the southern Arizona area reach their ideal customers through TV and streaming services. I can feel my blood sugars getting low as we speak. So He's not just sponsoring this chapter 3 of People Helping People. He's building partnerships, and he doesn't succeed unless you do. If you're ready to grow your business with someone who's invested in your success, call Mike directly at 515-305-5311. Again, that's 515-305-5311. And I have to say, if you own a business of any kind in the Arizona area, call Mike. Just call him. He's such a good guy. And if he can help you, he will. So I'm such a proud representative of Mike Silkowski. This episode is also sponsored by T-Town Boxing, Tucson's home for boxing, kickboxing, and recovery classes for all ages. T-Town Boxing isn't just a gym, it's a community where you can build confidence, discipline, and lifelong skills. Whether you're stepping into the ring for the first time or sharpening your technique, from kids to adults, beginners to experienced fighters, T-Town Boxing offers a space to grow, train, and challenge yourself. So, if you're ready to push your limits and join an amazing community, reach out to ttownboxing.com on Instagram at instagram.com/ttownboxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. Again, instagram.com/ttownboxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. And the owner over there, Jake Wilson, he is such a good guy. You know, I'm such a proud representative of T-Town Boxing because this man, he's been on the show multiple times, and he's a brother of mine, and he opened a gym because boxing saved his life over and over and over again. It's been something he could always lean on in the trying times, and he wanted to give that same opportunity to others. They train little kids on up to seniors, and he's just a really great guy. So thank you, Jake Wilson. We love you. Your boy B says salute to you both. Salute to you too, brother. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for joining us. This episode of People Helping People. And for those of you that don't know, we have officially acquired a 501c3. That is a nonprofit. It used to be Cars for Tucson, and we have rebranded it to Driven to Give. This goal for Chapter 3, which is going to run until the end of December, is to raise enough money to purchase somebody a vehicle. We want to be able to hand them the keys to a car on Christmas Day. So that is our goal. We are still working on the infrastructure, on getting everything set up properly so that we can do this the right way. We have come together to raise over $3,800 for these kids to go to Camp Asda. And now we are trying to raise enough money to have somebody get a new vehicle. So we got to find a family in need. And that's the goal. And we are so excited the direction that we're moving and the impact that we're making. And we couldn't do any of this without you guys. So thank you so much for being here. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. What an incredible episode. Thank you again to Madi Cheever for showing up and just enlightening us. There's so many different ways that she's out here helping individuals. So go show Madi Cheever some love. And thank you guys for being here for another incredible episode of People Helping People. Deuces.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.